Hello, everyone. So I guess we are live on YouTube now. So welcome, everybody. And also welcome to the viewers and the audience who are with us right now and also who might be watching our recorded version. So welcome to STEMPeers Global Conference 2020. And um, sorry about that. And so welcome to STEMPeers Global Conference 2020. And this year we are going virtual because of the pandemic. Um, so we are kickstarting our first session with the undergrad panel. So here we have panelists who are currently doing their bachelor's or just completed their bachelor's, and they might need some guidance and they want to discuss their difficulties or challenges they're facing. And to guide them, we have our expert panelists from different countries. And so this will be much more like a discussion, informational interview type session. And the session will be moderated by Feola Levin. So Fala currently completed her master's in biology, and she is currently pursuing her research in cancer biology from City University of New York. And she is going to moderate the entire session. So now the stage is all yours, Fiola, and you're welcome to introduce all the panelists and then go forward from there. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Hello, everyone. As was introduced, my name is Fiola Levine, and I'm really excited to be a part of the STEMPeers conference this year. So we will just get right into it in terms of introducing our panelists. We would like to give them an opportunity to go ahead and say a few things about themselves. And we can potentially start with Mr. Tommy Nixon. Sorry, Tommy. Please go ahead and give a little bit about yourself to the viewers.
Hi guys, I'm Tommy Nixon. I am a Canadian currently working at the University of Massachusetts Medical School doing gene therapy research. I graduated from the College of the Holy Cross in 2019. I played hockey there, had a brief stint in professional hockey before making a switch to a research career. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you so much, Tommy. We'll continue with Ms. Pooja Mehta.
Hi, so I'm Pooja Mehta. I'm from St. Xavier's College, Mumbai, India. And I'm currently in my final and third year of undergraduation, majoring in life sciences and biochemistry. So that's about it.
Thank you so much, Pooja. Kunal Modi.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Guys, hope you all are all doing well sitting at home. So my name is Kunal Modi, and I'm presently in India. I have done my bachelor's in India, but I spent about 7 years in Germany. I did my master's out there, and I've been working with the same company since I finished my master's. And I'm a metallurgist, so more of engineering. And yeah, that's more or less about me.
Thank you so much, Kunal. We would continue with Aricia Riggins.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Aricia Riggins. I'm currently enrolled at Kent State University, going for my bachelor's in nursing. I've been working in the medical field for about 15 years now, just climbing the ladder slowly but surely, and just hoping to, make great connections and moving forward with my career. And I'm very appreciative to be on the panel today.
Thank you so much, Aricia. And finally, we have Mr. Amartu Das Gupta.
Everyone, I am Amarto. I completed my bachelor. I am from India. I completed my bachelor's and my postgraduate also from India. I'm a scientist. I'm a purification scientist. I have 7 years of industrial experience. 6 years I have worked for a company called Biocon, which is based in India, which manufactures insulin. Currently, I'm part of an organization which is into cancer therapeutics and gene therapy. I I am thankful that you all have invited me to be a panelist, and I am happy to be part of it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gupta. And so we're all really excited to start sharing some information, and I think we can begin our discussion. The theme would be making a career change. And since the receiving audience or individuals are potentially trying to transition from undergraduate into graduate studies, we can start off by saying, or we can start off by discussing, what advice can you give to those individuals who they don't exactly know what their career path may be or what they may even be interested in pursuing? So what advice would you give to them as they try to figure out what they need to do to get to where they want to get to? And we can definitely kick off this discussion with Pooja, if you don't mind sharing any advice that you have for the viewers.
So I'm not sure how qualified I am for this question because I'm still pursuing my undergrad myself. But the way I like to think about, the way I like to go on is by the process of elimination. So I may not know what all I like, but I do know what I don't like. So once you start eliminating, you are zeroing in on on one or like a few things that you like. And then after that, I would say you make a mental list of the things you like and the potential careers and the scope of those careers. And I mean, and then even then, not all of those, you don't, I mean, all those options will still not be available to you. So I think it depends at that point in time, which is the most feasible option. So I think the first thing is just to zero in on what things you like. And I personally don't think, for me, it's a great idea to have a set goal in mind that I want to become this professional, because I think that leads to disappointment and frustration because you have an image of what you think a certain career will be like. And then if it doesn't turn out like that, then I mean, there's a whole lot of frustration involved. So I like to go step by step every year, evaluating whether I'm enjoying what I did in the previous year and my previous few, whatever, months of study, and maybe go on stepwise.
Thank you for that. I thought you were the perfect person to start off with because you're actually in the same predicament, or you're actually in the same area as individuals who are actually going on to study. So it's really interesting from your perspective that you know, they're not alone and you can actually share with them what those experiences are. But thank you so much for that answer. And I would appreciate it if Tommy, you can totally kick in and share your thoughts on the question as well.
Yeah, for me, being 1.5 years into my career, having made a career change from being a professional athlete to a researcher. When I was an undergrad, my goals were eventually to go to medical school and play professional hockey. And so I kind of worked towards both of them. In the summers, I'd spend them training or doing an internships. So I did an internship in clinical research. I gave that a try. I thought it was okay. I got to do some shadowing of physicians. I really enjoyed that. And then during my senior year in college, I did synthetic organic chemistry research, so some basic science research. And I enjoyed that, but I felt it was lacking something. So having had experience in in clinical research and in basic science research, I kind of knew that before I went to medical school, when I was kind of ending my hockey career, I was looking going, well, I did some clinical, I did some basic science. I like parts of both of them. So getting into a lab that does translational research, kind of right in the middle, got to do the basic science work that I loved and enjoyed, but also get the clinical aspects and the clinical impacts that I really enjoyed from my clinical research. So I kind of tried a bunch of things. So my advice to anybody who's looking to get into a career and they're not sure what they want to do is try things. Go for an internship you wouldn't have otherwise gone in. Go shadow for a day. Go get your feet wet a little bit. See what you enjoy doing. And if you go shadow and you end up loving it, then try and pursue that. If you go and you don't like it, well, it was just one day, so it's not too bad. And an internship too. Like my internship was 10 weeks, and 10 weeks was enough to realize that I wanted to do a little bit more than clinical research. So get your feet wet, try a bunch of things. And the best part about doing that is you get to meet a lot of people and build your network, and hopefully that'll help you out later down the line.
Thank you so much, Tommy. I would like to hear from Aricia. I'm interested in what you would like to share.
Yes, so I think that, like the other panelists said, just being diverse and trying to use like transferable skills. You know, like I started off in business. Okay, I have an associate's degree in business, and to take that and then go to the medical field, it's really about finding yourself and doing something that you are passionate about. You know, there isn't any like cookie cutter or any type of just straight trail to becoming successful, because successful means so many different things to the individual that you're speaking of, or to yourself. You know, my definition and the other people, you know, other panelists' definition of success can vary. So, you know, I think that just doing something that really sparks your interest, that you're passionate about, and just always putting your whole 100% in will get you where you want to be, and you know, you will be happy as long as you're doing something that you're really passionate about doing.
Thank you so much for that, Aricia. And just to kind of add on to what you were saying, in my experience, it was very similar, because I too wanted to pursue medical school. And so I allowed, you know, I got myself involved in all these different programs that would give me the exposure that I need. But I realized that my experience in research actually trumped my experience in the clinical aspect. Not that I don't like it, I truly do, but it was just what I found to be more interesting. And so it definitely rings true that, you know, as Tommy said, you should definitely get those experiences and get your feet wet so that you can decide or really know for sure, you know, this is what I want to do, because essentially you'll be putting a certain amount of years for training and exposure. So you want to at least make sure that it's something that you're passionate about or something that you enjoy. So I would like to hear from Kunal. Am I saying your name correctly? Kunal.
So Kunal, that would
Kunal.
be
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's fine. I have I've seen people finding it difficult even with my name, so that's no problem. So I think more or less all of the panelists and so Tommy, Pooja, Aricia, they have, and including yourself, you all have really summarized everything pretty well. I think at different stages of life, different things could be very applicable. So what Pooja said, this was a process of elimination. This is something that you definitely do at a point in life when you cannot try a lot of things. And as soon as you are going through that undergrad phase and then you have the opportunities to try out, you should. So just taking an example of what I had done, even when I was finishing my bachelor's, the only thing that I was considering was that I should do a master's. I should do, because I was pursuing mechanical engineering. Germany seemed to be a very right option for me at that time. And during that, I was trying a different thing. So, you know, getting your feet wet, as Tommy had put it. I tried to work with the university, do some research. I was trying to work with a company, trying to perform tests for them. I even tried myself spending some time just, you know, selling pizzas, so that, you give everything an opportunity. And in the end, you come to a point where you realize that, okay, I was pretty certain that academia was not the way for me. Industry is what was it. It was a combination of, you know, not just researching, but transforming that into a live application that appealed to me. And that was the main reason why I decided, okay, I would like to move to industry. And I gave up a couple of PhD offers just to try this out. And similarly, it's been that way for the professional stage. So to put it together, you know, process of elimination, looking at what you could do, you might do, understanding your likes and dislikes, and testing it out, I think more or less summarizes the best advice that can be given to anyone.
Thank you so much, Kunal. And Mr. Amar Gupta, please share your thoughts.
So when somebody is going through that phase when he is passing out from his college, he will be given a plethora of opportunities, means maybe from science, basic science, maybe somebody wants to do singing, maybe somebody wants to go for arts. So as all the panelists were saying, means from Tommy to Alicia to Kunal to Pooja, so you have to have a selective approach, one by one. The best part in life always doesn't happen to be the best one in the first go. It takes a lot of permutations and combinations before you hit the right one. So basically, you have to start with. Then, once you understand, you have to list down what all your career interest lies in, or what all your passion lies in. Not necessarily, as Arisha told, your passion will always coincide with what you want to work for. But you have to list down and see what career interest you lies in, whether that career interest has a near future or not. If it doesn't have a future, it is not worth pursuing it. You have to be, if you are passionate, but if it doesn't have a future, it will be very difficult. After that, you go for that elimination process that everybody is telling. One by one, you will come to know. You have to intern with a lot of firms. You have to understand. You will get to know what is good for you, what is bad for you. At one point of time, you will feel okay, music was good for me, so you go and start singing. At some point of time, you will feel no, science is good for me. There will be ample scope, ample learning. After that, means the person has to take the decision on his or herself. He has to be very logical about the future, about what he wants to do, what he wants to get. After that point of time only, he will be able to decide, okay, this is the right path. And as Tommy was telling, you have to do a lot of job shadowing. You have to do a lot of networking. Let's say you see a job in LinkedIn, and you are seeing that you are interested in. Do a Google search. What sort of work they're posting for the job advertiser. What sort of professionals they require. These all are very important. Unless or until these job shadowings are done, or a total networking is very necessary. If you want to end up in a firm in which everything is in your way, you have to do a lot of networking. You have to go for some conferences, and you have to go to conferences and ask them whether don't ask straight, go and straight ask that, okay, I want a job. You go and ask them, okay, what sort of things are you working on? These all are the things which is necessary for a person who is like making a career path from an undergrad to the industry or academia, whatever it is.
Thank you so much for that. And staying in that same mindset, as you all have already discussed in terms of process of elimination and choosing what's right for you, I would then ask, have there ever been a moment where you selected something that was not the right fit or that you was not excited about? And how did it turn out? How did you turn it into a positive experience that will then propel you to continue further in what you were pursuing initially? And I will open the floor for Kunal. Please share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, thank you, Fayala. Yeah, pretty much. Things like that always happens, and it is going to happen, especially when you are going to try out different things. You are going to be in situations where you don't completely understand if this matches your likes, dislikes, whether it works well with what you have thought of or want to do or pursue in the future. So I have personally had those instances. So just giving you a simple example, there was a project that we were doing it at university, and one of the things that came up was some IT admin work that needed to be done to set up the infrastructure that was there. So something completely new to me as an engineer. I did not understand all those things, but what was important at that point, and this is something that I recommend for everyone, is understanding that there is a potential to learn something. You are going to be a student all your life. This is something that is never going to go past you. As long as you keep learning and keep growing, you are going to progress. If you stop doing that, it is going to be a big issue for you. And the world comes around a few years later, about 4 or 5 years later. Here I am trying to set up the subsidiary for my German company, and right now I am having to do that IT work, which I never thought I would like to do or be involved in. And those experiences, as you grow up the ladder, they will always help you. So it is important to understand that any experience, good or bad, it is something that you can learn from, and it has the potential for you to grow further, especially later on in your life.
Thank you so much for that, Kunal. I definitely can co-sign there. Aricia, please share your experience.
So even in school and professional, we've all been put in circumstances where, you know, we would have liked to opt it out or have not been a perfect fit for the experience at hand. But what I try to do is I try to be an optimistic person, and I try to think about what can I take from this situation. And not only that, but I think that it's also good to be able to say, okay, I done something that I, you know, wasn't able to do or didn't think I would be able to do. So it's very self-gratifying to be able to accomplish a goal that wasn't necessarily a ideal pick for you. You know what I'm saying? And I think that in the midst of that, you really find the type of character you are, you know, or that you possess, should I say. You know, because a lot of the times it's very hard to do something that is outside of your comfort zone. So to accomplish that and to, I mean, whether it's good or bad, because it's been times where, like in school, you know, you achieve the goal, but instead of maybe your A or B, you may get a C. So it's not the fact of the matter of how high of the achievement it is. An achievement is still an achievement. And like I said, just getting out of that comfort zone really makes you know who you are and what you can do. So like I said, I just try to be optimistic all the time and try to think, okay, well, if I'm able to do this, I'm overcoming something. And, you know, I ultimately feel proud and it's gratifying for that.
Thank you so much for that, Aricia, Ms. Aricia. Mr. Amaratu, please share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so there will come times in life when everything will not happen in your way. So I have been in situations where it was like not directly means I wanted, it was not my comfort zone. I felt okay, my career is jeopardized. So it was very difficult. But one thing I always keep myself inspired when I fall into such situation or have fallen into situation is I try to think about the bigger picture. Whether I am making an impact or not. Let's say I was put in like 5-6 years back in the industry. I am giving a very specific example. I was put in a domain which I was not interested into. I was put into manufacturing domain. I was not interested. I was interested in the research and development. However, they have put me into manufacturing domain. I went to my boss and told, hey, when you interviewed me, you told me that, okay, you will put me into research and development. However, you have put me into manufacturing. What is that? Why did it happen? He's telling in every organization from top to bottom, everybody is helping everybody to make the organization grow. Think like that. So in that aspect, I think about the bigger picture that, okay, if I was in manufacturing domain, I was seeing the scale up. I was making something which is helping the community. I was making medicines which will help, which is helping others. That's how I kept myself inspired. This is my thought process whenever I fall in a negative situation. And one very important example I remember when I fall into such situation is about one janitor in US. I mean, in NASA. He was doing something. I had read it somewhere. Probably one big hotshot came and asked him, how are you helping the person? How are you helping the organization? He told, I am making the man to step into moon. So look at the way of his confidence, look at the way he is inspiring others, look at the way his thought process is. So everywhere when you are in a negative situation, think about the bigger picture. The bigger picture will always help you to come out of it.
Thank you so much for that. I have a question for any of you. Feel free to share. What exactly, maybe give an example of something that you wish you knew before getting into what it is that you have pursued, whether it is pursuing your master's or whether it is pursuing further graduate studies. What is one thing you wish you had an advisor or a mentor or someone share with you that you kind of had to figure out along the way before getting involved in what you were pursuing? Tommy.
That's a good question. For me, I wouldn't want an advisor, someone to tell me exactly where I was going to end up, because I really enjoyed the journey on how I got here, and I learned a lot from each experience. But I think for me personally, whether it be kind of in the lab or outside of the lab, I would have wished an advisor would have told me to be a little bit more organized from the start and keep better notes from the start. So regardless of what opportunity I was going in, keep better notes on what I did, who I talked to. So in that way, in the future, when I'm looking back on those experiences, I kind of have a nice little summary of what I did. I started doing that recently. I started doing that after junior year when I was doing my internship in the hospital. And I wrote down exactly what surgeries I got to shadow in. I wrote down what procedures I was doing research on. And since then, it's kind of allowed me to kind of see exactly how vast the scope of everything I've done is. And relating that to the last question too, when it was projects I didn't really enjoy, I got to, again, be an optimist and look back and see, wow, I actually made progress in these fields that I didn't think I ever would have interest in. And it's made me a lot more of a diverse kind of work candidate and a lot more of a diverse employee for UMass here. So the biggest thing for me would just be take better notes and document the journey better. I was never much of a journaler or diary keeper as a kid. I don't think I'm going to start being one, but I'd rather, with every experience, every couple months, just put a couple notes down, and then that way you can kind of track and see where you are. And if you're at a low point in your career, you can look back and see just how much you've accomplished, and that'll really help you build confidence, so that way you can keep moving forward and keep chugging along.
Thank you so much for that, Tommy. Pooja, please share your thoughts on that.
So there isn't honestly a lot I can think of, but the one thing is I wish someone had told me not to be this laid back and to work a little in advance. Especially in India, it's very, very competitive to even apply for internships, not only getting in admissions into like the graduate programs or anything, but even just for summer internships, it's super competitive. So I wish someone had told me to start preparing a little bit in advance and to maybe start researching about where I want to apply and stuff, because otherwise, yeah, it just accumulates. And 3 years for an undergrad is a short time period to figure out exactly what you want to do, because there's so many things you're doing. So yeah, maybe that.
Thank you so much for that. Ms. Aricia, please share your thoughts.
So what would I like for someone to have told me? I think that I would have liked for someone to have told me just to stay focused on building the relationships and the rapport from the beginning. Like some of the other panelists said, sometimes when you're in the midst of the work and the hustle and bustle per se, you lose track of things, and you're just so determined and so focused on the goal that you don't like embrace all of the steps that it took to get there until after you look back. And then in hindsight, it's like it sometimes gets foggy with exactly every single step that it took for you to get there. You lose track of that. So I think that, just being focused, make sure that you are exploring and chronologically taking in, like the other panelists said, what it took to get there. Because when someone asks you, okay, well, what all steps did it take for you to achieve your goals? And then it's like, okay, you pause and you reflect, but can you actually tell them every single shortcoming? Because that's what I think shortcomings are more of what helps you to build you up to get to where you need to be. You know, everyone is so happy to applaud when the good things happen, but the shortcomings, the no's, the rejections, the failure, I think those things are what ultimately help you to be able to be happy and to be you know, feel more proud of the achievement.
Ms. Aricia, I want to say amen, because yes, that is so true. Mr. Gupta, please share your thoughts on that.
Well, on a funnier note, I would like to have a brother or a sister who will always tell me not to procrastinate or be lazy, because I have been lazy throughout my life. I have been studying, means in the last day, means I was so scared that I thought I will flunk my examination, I'll fail very bad. So these all things I miss. Means sometimes I always feel I keep things till the last minute, and it completely takes a toll on me. My BP rises. I feel like every earth will fall apart. So if somebody was there who would have helped me out in getting over those things, I would have been more happier.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Gupta. Mr. Kunal, please share your thoughts on that.
So I think all of the panelists have covered a lot of subjective aspects of things that I think everybody should and has faced and should try to improve on. One of the things that I definitely thought of apart from all those was networking. So this is one aspect of things that especially when you are studying or you are entering the university or research, this is not something that you have always focused on. You know, you don't look out trying to build connections professionally, or not just interacting with the subject matter that is in front of you, but also with what is happening all over the world. And especially in the time when things are evolving so fast, it becomes very important to have a good network that is set up. So this is something that I found it quite difficult, especially when I was transitioning from academia to industry. When I decided, okay, industry is the way to go, it was difficult for me to figure out, okay, who are the people do I talk to? Who are the people that I can reach out to, who could give me some more guidance? Similarly, when you are taking some next steps in the ladder, I wanted to understand who would be the best person to guide me. And at that time, you realize that, having a network, it becomes a knowledge base. You are able to, it allows you to have an easy knowledge transfer with somebody who has done that, or who has been involved with it. And this is something that I would definitely recommend. Things like LinkedIn have made things easier that way, and it's important that people stay connected. I mean, of course, here we are talking professionally, but also at a personal level. So this would be something that I definitely think that would have come good use to me if somebody had told me about it earlier.
Thank you so much for that. I think for me, I guess from a personal perspective, I wish that I was taught how to deal with impostor syndrome. So a lot of the times, much of the accomplishments that I have had, or sometimes, the circle that I find myself in, I start to feel like, I don't know, how did they let me in here? I'm not supposed to be here. And just dealing with being very critical too, sometimes it's important to be critical in yourself, because ideally you want to be the best at what you do. You want to be competitive. You want to be someone that, people can hold to high esteem based on what you've done, what the work, the track record that you laid for yourself. But sometimes we can be a little too critical on ourselves. And I can only speak for myself when I say, when I'm critical on myself, it tends to put me in a space where I am not working as hard as I can, because I'm so busy focusing on the little things that I may be getting wrong, or the little things I haven't ironed out. And that can, turn into procrastination, or it could, as some of the panelists has mentioned, just not, taking things and really prioritizing it in the way that you should in that moment. So for me, it's just, I wish that I had someone kind of lay it out and let me understand that, this is normal, this happens, and, this is how you could potentially overcome it so that it doesn't become a hindrance or an obstacle for you. With that being said, I think I want to open the floor for students who may have any questions for our panelists. Just feel free to share whatever questions you have so that I can ask them and they can share that information with you. So I would, I guess, wait for some of the students to kind of give a question that they have. But I guess in the meantime, while the students are thinking about whatever questions they would like to ask, kindly comment on skill sets that you think is very important. So for example, what do you think it is, certain traits or certain skills that you would look for, particularly to set someone up for a successful transition, right? So we're talking about maybe career change or actually starting a specific career. So skill sets and traits that you think it's particularly important or particularly critical for individuals to have to set up this area for them to actually transition successfully. And we can start with Mr. Gupta.
Hi. So first and foremost, the mindset that should come from a person transitioning from academia to industry setup is that instead of individual goals, a collaborative goal is more important. So individual goal is okay, but an organization sustains on a collaborative goal. So that is important. Other than that, they need to be updated, means how the industry is working on, means what sort of, let's say somebody wants to get a job in a biotech sector. So for a biotech sector, what sort of courses you need to take up? What sort of what sort of departments are there? There are a plethora of departments from analytics to upstream to downstream. So what sort of courses that, because when you are doing your undergrad course, you will be given a lot of food in the plate. So you can't digest everything in one shot. You have to pick one of them and then assimilate nicely so that you become specialist in the long run. So you have to do a lot of background search about what all courses are necessary for this move. Let's say you want to move, because I am in downstream sector. So I feel that people who are coming in downstream or protein purification, they should understand chromatography well. They should understand the chemical aspects of chromatography well. How those subjects are relevant to the industry. If that thing is panned out by the professors, or if they try to connect, they should connect with people from the industry. So they will tell, okay, you can take up such courses. It's because the industry people are very open. If you tell them, it's not like they will not tell you, okay, I won't talk with you. They're open to suggestions. They will give you suggestions. So take their suggestions, take up courses nicely, and then go for the hit.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gupta. And Tommy, I mean, you transitioned from professional sport athlete to researcher. Maybe you can share a little bit of the skill sets or the traits that you've picked up in your previous career and how you've been able to transfer it to what you're doing now. Feel free to comment on that.
Yeah, so my background in undergrad was organic chemistry, and then I ended up in a microbiology lab. So a lot of the technical skills I learned weren't necessarily very transferable. And one of the biggest lessons I learned in hockey and sports was you got to control the controllables, control what you can control and not worry about what you can't control. So me going into a new career, going into a new field, I had the pipetting skills, but I didn't have any of the animal work skills that I needed for a translational research career. I didn't have a lot of the technical skills that I felt I needed. And those were kind of out of my control because I couldn't get those skills elsewhere. I couldn't get those while I was playing hockey. I couldn't get those in a chem lab. So when I came in, I controlled what I could control. And what that meant was I made sure that I was the best learner I could be. I was reading papers in the field, so that way I'd be up to date with the terms and the techniques that are used in these types of labs. And then I made sure that I was the best team player as possible. So I went in the lab and I was willing to help anybody with anything. That way I could learn from them on what they were doing. I was I was putting in extra hours. I was being the first guy in the lab, first guy out. That's a bit of a cliche you often hear in pro sports. A rookie who gets a lot better is the first guy out there and the last guy off for practice. But I tried to kind of emulate that in the lab, and allowed me to really get up to speed really quickly and start contributing to the lab. So the biggest thing is, again, control the controllables. What can you control? What can you do? Make sure that you have a good attitude, you're willing to learn, and that you're always on time and always willing to ask questions. That's the biggest one. Don't be afraid of what you don't know. Don't be afraid and don't feel like you don't belong, because you're there for a reason. If they've hired you for a job, they believe you can do the job. So don't be feeling like you mentioned with the imposter syndrome, right? You belong there and you can learn, and don't be afraid to ask, right? Everybody has been at some point in their career where they have no clue what they're doing. I'm sure Albert Einstein got in a lab and his first time said, what do I do? I don't know, right? And acknowledging what you don't know might be the best thing you can ever do for your career, because then you can ask and then you can learn and then you can grow. And that's the biggest lesson that I kind of learned. And again, to keep it simple, control the controllables.
I just want to interrupt here. I totally agree what Tommy said. So I'm working as a PhD student here, and I see there are people who come in our lab for rotation, or finally they join as PhD students. And ours is a biochemistry lab, and we do cancer biology. So we have to know cell culture, we have to know Western blot. But I have seen people who doesn't know the skills. They come from bioinformatics background. They have the theoretical knowledge, but they don't have the practical skills. So my boss, for example, he looks at the enthusiasm for the candidate that he is hiring in the lab as a PhD student, and also the originality or the concept, the conceptual originality that one has, or if he or she has interest in doing this. So I feel like if you are working in a lab and if you're working on a particular skills, obviously you can learn the skills in 1 or 2 days. I mean, you can shadow any senior and take the skills up, like if it's a technical skills. But I think the most interesting is if you're interested in doing that particular stuff, if you're interested in doing Western blot, if you're interested in doing cell culture, or if you are interested in working with mouse models, I think it depends on your interest. So I feel like in some cases it's important whether you are interested in doing such work or not. I think you can get the skills with practice, and but it's how updated you are on that particular field is what's more important. So I totally agree with Tommy said. So that's my 2 cents.
Oh, thank you so much for that. So, Mr. Kunal, what are your thoughts on that question?
Yeah, thank you. So I was fortunate enough that early in my career, this year I had this opportunity where I was sitting on the other side of the table, where I was actually hiring somebody and judging their skills. And when I was going to do that, it was a pretty new experience for me, and I was quite nervous, which is usually shouldn't be the case for somebody sitting on the other side of the desk. But it was quite early in my career. So one of the things that I did was I tried to approach the people who have done this before. And what they told me is that when you are looking for somebody, you don't expect them to know everything. You are not expecting them to fill somebody's shoes who he's trying to replace, or take up a new position. You're not expecting that person to be in a situation where he can start working and being efficient right from the day one. And the things that Tommy, lady there, they have put in, those are very important. The attitude, understanding whether the job that he's applying for, does he have the right skill set in terms of, are the fundamentals good enough? If you are looking for somebody who is able to program, for example, you need to know whether he can write a basic code. After that, whether he can manage the big skills or not, these are something that always comes with time. These are things you develop over a period of time. So based on where you are, what you are doing, it is always important that your fundamentals are strong. You are confident in what you are applying to. You know that, okay, this is a field that I am interested in, I would like to pursue. And like they said, you have to be passionate about it, and you show that you are willing to learn. And once those aspects are there, as somebody who is sitting on the other side, they also appreciate that, and they accept that you will take the time to learn, but at least with the right attitude, you'll be able to cross the bridge well.
Very true. I co-sign that. Pooja and Ms. Aricia, do you guys have any questions for individuals here on the panel? Any specific questions? Okay, so I guess what I wanted to also ask is if you guys could talk a little bit. I mean, we're virtual because we're all in the middle of a pandemic, and it has affected a lot of individuals in many different ways. When you think of a spectrum of not so bad, but extremely bad, maybe you can give a little comment about how this has affected you and how it may have affected your work, and any advice that you can give someone who's probably trying to figure out how to deal with it, because it's been so long, but still sometimes it's a little difficult to kind of grasp or process what's happening. So maybe if you could share a little bit about your personal experience with dealing with the pandemic and how it has affected you. Tommy, please share your thoughts on that. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. You were muted there, so I couldn't hear you. But so the pandemic, it's affected all of us in various ways, and it's obviously it's a lot less fun than we'd like, because you can't see friends and family as often as you want to. But there's been a lot of good to come out of it, in the sense that a lot of things are virtual now. And I mentioned earlier shadowing opportunities. And for me, who's a pre-med in college, looking and trying to get those shadowing opportunities, you're not going to get the face-to-face ones in person. There's a lot more opportunity to get virtual shadowing in. And you can, there's surgeries that are being shown on YouTube, and you can find your way. And I know at UMass here, all the grand rounds that are being held by doctors, all the speakers they have, all of them are virtual. So it's a lot easier to sneak into a conference virtually than it is to sneak into one in person. So you can watch a lot more conferences and presentations than you ever could have before. And you can do it all from the comfort of your own couch in your sweatpants. So that's incredible. And the only downside of that is you can't network as much as you would if you went to that conference in person, spoke to the speaker and said, "Hi, my name's Tommy. I'm really interested in your work," and present a couple questions. But if you go to those, and you go to a lot more of those conferences, you can learn how people ask those questions, and then you can send emails. And the beauty of the world right now is everybody is just one click away. So if you are looking into CAR T research, you can CAR T cell research, you can email Carl June and ask him a question, and odds are he's going to get back to you. So it's an incredible way for you to kind of take advantage of your time without having to spend the money to travel or anything. So that's one kind of good thing to come out of it. And the other good thing that has come out of it is just how integrated the research community is. I know me at UMass here, I was helping out another lab develop a COVID antibody test. And that opportunity would have never come if there wasn't a pandemic. And then when the opportunity came and they were asking for volunteers to help in the lab, I jumped to that. So that gave me another opportunity within the lab. And I know one of the few fields that is hiring right now is research, because there's so much money being put towards COVID research. So it's actually a good time to jump into the field. So it's, again, one of the good things to come from the pandemic, out of the many bad things that have come. And hopefully all the research and the collaboration between research communities can hopefully curb the pandemic sooner rather than later. But it's great to see how united the scientific field is.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Mr. Gupta, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with Tommy, because a lot of opportunities are opening up. Basically, I'm from the life science sector, and I'm not seeing, I am seeing every day, our company is putting 3 to 4 applications that they want so many people for this post, for this kind of research. So the future is bright for some fields. However, for some fields, it is little bleak for the timing. It has gone down little bit, but I feel after every bad day, after every darkness comes the sunlight. So it's absolutely okay to be like little laid back currently. To you need to upgrade your skills in this time. You have plethora of opportunities, as Tom was telling. So many courses are there. You can take up those courses. You can everything is a click away. So in this time, you need to build up your skills, because when you are little free, because an empty mind may you can do so many things. Means you can learn so many things. You in the when you are at the last point, in that point only you make the final cut. So you need to so when you learn a lot of things, you are able to implement a lot of things. I think after this pandemic goes, you will be again in a good shape. So I request all of the people who are there, who are feeling sad about job losses or something, not to feel. It is the time to upgrade themselves. If they upgrade themselves, there is nothing like it, because there is ample scope, ample things like big data, data science. So many opportunities are coming up. If they are able to learn those things in this time, they can learn Python, something like that. So there's nothing like it. So the prospect in the near future is good. Currently it is bleak, but not to be disheartened. It is the time to fall in love, to be married, something like that. Some of the personal experiences can happen in this time. And on top of that, they can have their knowledge incremented.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that, Mr. Gupta. So just to get as much questions as like we can possibly get in, so I have another question for you guys. So what do you think is the key to know about oneself that indicates that you're ready to take the next step? So the next step into whichever direction or into whichever endeavors that someone wants to pursue. So I would like to hear from Mr. Kunal.
So as I understand correctly, you are talking about transitioning from one field maybe to another.
So you're transitioning, yes.
Or moving up the ladder. So yeah, definitely. There are a few things that one does realize. Some of those things might come unconsciously. Some of those things that you are aware about consciously. To name a few, you do realize whenever you are feeling you are able to accomplish all the things that you have been put for in front of you, but at the same time you have spare time and you are looking for other opportunities. This is a direct indicator of the possibility that you have maybe grown to the level at what your job or what your position requires you to do, and it might be a step in the right next direction. Similarly, it's also something like the hunger that you reach out. You like everybody has spoken about, there are opportunities always in front of you, and when you see yourself that you are looking out for more opportunities, it's an indicator of where you are as in terms of your life, in terms of your settled nature at work. So it becomes important that you understand yourself or look out for those signs where you see that those will allow you to identify whether you can transition into something in the future.
Thank you for that. Well, Ms. Aricia, you want to share your thoughts on that question? Oh, I'm so sorry. I just realized that you were driving. So if you're not able to answer the question, that's totally fine. I can have someone else answer if that's okay. I want you to stay safe, Ms. Aricia. So Mr. Tommy, please share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so for me, I was fortunate to jump up a couple levels in hockey, and so I got to do some transitions there, and then I've been able to do some in my career as well. So I've had a couple of different transitions, and for me, it's once you start feeling comfortable or complacent with where you're at, that's when you know you're ready to take the next step, whether it's up the ladder or sidestep to a different position. And something that I kind of believe in my life is I want to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Because if I'm uncomfortable, I'm always learning. I'm learning something new and getting better. If I'm comfortable, I'm in my comfort zone, I'm not leaving there. That's like waking up in the morning and being in your little burrito of burnt blankets, being warm and never wanted to leave. So for me, being uncomfortable, getting out of bed in the morning, getting and learning and becoming better, that's how I like to think of my career. So once I get to a point in a job where I feel like I'm comfortable, it's like I'm in bed all warm and cozy, and then I know that I'm ready to move on or find a new position that's going to help me grow as a person and as an employee. So I've noticed that like right now in the lab, research is great because I can take on as many projects as I want and continue to learn new things. So I haven't gotten comfortable yet. I'm still learning every day, which is fantastic, and that's really fulfilling for me. So if you find a place where you get complacent, might not be fulfilling for you. So then it's time to leave. But if you're not complacent, then you're in the right spot and you're continuing to grow, and that's perfect for you and for me too.
Thank you for that. Ms. Pooja, do you want to share what lets you know that you're ready to take on your next level, move on to the next step?
Yeah, so I would think of it as if you feel like you're getting saturated with what you're currently doing and you don't feel like getting up and doing that particular work every day, and this happens consistently, probably means that you've learned all you can in that particular field, or it means that you weren't interested in it to begin with. So that would be a key indicator. And the second thing is, I think it's important if you're looking for a transition that you're passionate about what you're transitioning to, because it's going to be it's kind of a risky it's kind of risky to make that shift, right? So if you're confident about your passion for the thing you're transitioning to, then I think you'll be willing to take that risk, and when you know you're willing to take that risk, I think that's when you're ready to make the move. So it's basically when you have the confidence to make the move, and yeah, when you feel like you've learned enough from what you're already doing.
Thank you so much for that. I have another question for you guys. So we had a very engaging and really interesting discussion, and I am appreciating all of this. I think I'm really interested in knowing what activities in your career do you find most engaging or fun? Okay, so I have a little brother who he doesn't think research is that exciting, so he's not excited about what I do, and I feel some type of way about it because I love what I do, and I'm trying to figure out ways to just let him know how it's exciting. And one of the things I did was I brought him to the lab, and I actually had him shadow me and see like all the things that I do, and he was able to appreciate it a lot more. And so I guess that was my way of showing him how my what I do is really exciting and fun. But if you can share your thoughts on what activities in your career that is really engaging and fun, please feel free to do so. And I guess Mr. Kunal, you can start with you.
So for me, one of the main ways I was able to determine what I wanted to do next was by working. When I tried out different things, I realized that there was a combination, especially in the field of engineering. There was this appeal about learning certain things and applying them and realizing it into something that is physically you can see or understand. And this was the appeal for me for engineering right from the beginning. So when I actually was doing my master's and I was doing my thesis, at that time I had this opportunity to design and perform some simulations, and with the colorful diagrams it looks quite lovely, but it wasn't fulfilling because that was a part also of my master's course. But during my thesis I also had the opportunity to doing experiments with it. So something that I designed, I was also able to manufacture, put it in a real life application, and then test it out. Now, putting all of those together for me was quite fulfilling, trying to show somebody that, oh, okay, look at this. These are beautiful pictures, and then actually translating it into something that is physical, that is there in front of you, which you can see in real life applications. This was something that really helped me engage with what I was doing. And also it helped people understand what I was doing, because engineering, especially when you go a little technical with metallurgy or with simulation, not everybody is able to understand what you're doing. So when I told them that, okay, for example, I have this big room and I have a fan inside it. Now, when the fan starts, how is the air circulation inside? You have never seen air, but this was something that we could simulate. and you could show that this is how the air was moving. And I would tell them that this is similar to what I do when I am doing my research or doing my computations, because I translate that to a very big object and I don't just necessarily cool it, but I heat it to 600 degrees or something like that. And this is one aspect that I find really engaging for me and quite fun, because I can actually see something translating from a simulation or in front of a computer to something that is real.
That's pretty cool. Thank you for that. Really quickly, Mr. Gupta, do you want to share your thoughts on what do you find most exciting and engaging about your career?
So being in the life science sector, you know that failures are bound to happen. Hello. Being in the life science sector, we know that failures are bound to happen. We do research day in and day out in the lab, and every day something or else is failing. But still after that, we scientists keep on persevering and understanding, okay, hey, this will somehow affect the society in the long run. And seeing that drug being developed and being scaled up, and somebody whose life was bad and is now good due to that medicine, it is what excites me. That was the major reason I took life science as a career.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Tommy.
I find fun in my job. I really enjoy learning new things, but kind of similar to what we just heard was that being in translational medicine, I find anything that can help improve a patient's life or even a mouse's life incredible. So we're working with ALS in our lab and Tay Sachs, both of our neurodegenerative disorders, and seeing anything that extends the life. So Tay Sachs, it's a disease where children that are born with it, they after about 6 to 8 months, they start kind of going backwards in the developmental cycle. So they lose the ability to sit up. They don't be able to learn how to walk due to neurodegeneration. And so one of our studies our lab was able to do, one of our clinical trials, we were able to kind of push off the onset of symptoms by 3 months. And for that, I loved seeing that. Seeing that, in a short lifespan, because usually they make it to about 2 to 4 years is their age range there, they end up passing away. So even 3 months in that short period of time is pretty significant. So that's the stuff that I get the most from. And, we're working with ALS and seeing ALS symptom onset in mice being pushed off by even a couple days. Symptom onset's usually around 150 days. So 150 days is a short time. So if you can push it off 3, 4, 5 days, relating that to humans, we're on symptom onsets late 20s, early 30s, that could be a couple of years. And that's the stuff that I really enjoy most, aside from just learning. That's the stuff that fulfills me and makes me want to keep going back, which is why I love this job.
So I just want to chip in here. So we have a question on the YouTube comment section. So somebody is asking that he or she is a freshman biotechnology major. She just graduated, and the person is asking what skills should he or she work on to pursue a career, pursue a graduate career, or that will help the person to go to the next step. Like the person is a biotechnology major, so what particular skills or career should the person work on to move on to a graduate career?
Mm-hmm.
If anyone can answer the question.
For me, one thing I did looking in if I wanted to go to grad school for chemistry or not was I dove headfirst into research. My college had undergraduate research opportunities. So one of my classes my senior year was just research. It was independent research. I was in the lab as often as I could be, doing as many experiments as possible. So that's one thing I'd recommend. Another thing I'd recommend is, trying to find a summer internship at a medical school or at a university, because there's plenty of opportunities for summer students to go in and do research in the lab. So if they're thinking about pursuing graduate school, I'd say go in, try a summer of research, try finding a research opportunity where you can see if that's for you and pursuing the career at the next level is for you. And figuring that out, you said they're in freshman year, so figuring that out early would be fantastic, because then they can kind of tailor the rest of their undergraduate journey to the graduate school they want to go to. So I'd say any summer, even Christmas break, winter break, whatever it is, you can go shadow for a week or go find an opportunity. So that's what I'd recommend.
Oh, I agree with what Tommy said, just to kind of piggyback off of what he was saying, because I definitely did some summer internship. And I remember my summer internship at the University of Massachusetts Medical School was the most exciting. Although I appreciate all of the experiences that I did have, that was the experience for me that really, as they say, put the nail in the coffin for me in terms of pursuing research. And so definitely get those experiences, and also to start reading the literature, whatever you find really interesting. It really doesn't have to be anything too grand or too extreme. Whatever you find that's really interesting, start looking into the literature so that you can become more familiar with what is already out there, and you can start thinking about, how you would want to contribute, or the kind of research that you would want to do to continue on in what you're interested in. So definitely get familiar with research literature, and the experiences also ties it all in together. So that would be my advice in how to prepare for graduate school. Just lots of reading, but it's exciting if you're very interested in it. So definitely get that experience. And so I would like to say thank you to all of our panelists. I would be passing this back over to the host of this meeting, Shulha. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I loved every minute of it, and feel free to continue with any comments that you may have. But thank you so much to all of our panelists. All of you are very, very exciting. It's just really exciting to hear your story and to learn a little bit more about how this particular field has been for you. Your experiences is definitely, I don't know about everybody else, but I can speak for myself and say that I learned a lot today. And I'm appreciative of each and every one of you being present today.
Yeah, so before we wrap up, so I would ask Pooja or Arisia, if you have any particular questions from your side, you can ask the experts, or if you need to give any advice, since you are completing your undergraduate and taking the next step. So you're welcome to ask those questions or give your advice.
I don't really have any questions as of now, but I mean, I have a lot, but I can't think of them at the moment. But it's not an advice, but it's kind of a suggestion to my juniors. I have realized that a lot of people in my stage tend to stress a lot about what they're going to do ahead. And this is an advice I received from my aunt: is to not stress so much about what's going to happen in the future, but instead just to enjoy. Just to ensure that you're enjoying what you're doing at the moment, because you might get into the best university you wanted to, but if you burnt yourself out in the journey there, and you start in the process, you started hating the subject that you really liked, then it's pretty pointless. So it's a suggestion kind of for me as well, because I feel like I'm not applying that, but I should. It's just to enjoy what you're doing in the moment, and yeah, not stress too much about the future and ruin the present.
And I wanted to thank everyone for allowing me to be on the panel today. And I just think that, just making sure that you stay focused and, persevering through everything, being optimistic, definitely applying yourself, being coachable, being knowledgeable in what you want to do, and finding out that path and just taking it step by step. That will help you to achieve any goal that you want. Having a good support system, making sure that you are very appreciative and show gratitude to those that help you along the way. Making sure that, time management is a big thing. Staying educated in every way that you can. Like I think it was Tommy that mentioned that earlier, or Mr. Gupta, I think it was, that was saying like to, in the midst of the pandemic, just making sure that, you know, you're utilizing your time with the greatest ability to educate yourself. You know, never allow time to be wasted, because it is very precious. And as we see, so many people are dying every day due to the pandemic and other things. So just be very gracious in everything that you do, and try to achieve your goals, and just stay focused, and you know, just one foot in front of the other. Never allow anyone to make you think that you're inadequate or that you can't do something, because there's so many people that are great now that were, you know, deemed crazy, or, you know, they would never be able to accomplish the goals that they have accomplished, and now they are, you know, world renowned and historians for being innovative. So just do all that you dream to do. Dream big. Always push yourself, and never, like Tommy did say, never get complacent. That was always my personal thing. Whenever I started to feel like I wasn't doing more, it was like an urgency that awakened in me to try to do more. You know, always look to do something that is not easily achievable, because if you're not challenging yourself, you're not growing, you're not evolving. So don't suppress yourself for anyone or anything, and just do it. It's like Nike, just do it, guys. You can do it. Believe in yourself.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you for your presence, and thanks that you agreed to join this panel discussion with us. Hope you do well during this pandemic and stay home as much as you can, stay healthy. So with that, we will wrap up today's session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a great weekend.
All
Thank
of
you for
you.
having me.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Best.